Have you ever sat alone in your living room, the clock ticking just a little louder than usual, and thought to yourself, is this what life is supposed to feel like after 65? Maybe the kids have grown up and moved away. Maybe a partner has passed. Or maybe you've just always preferred your own space. But whatever the reason, living alone in this stage of life can bring both freedom and sometimes a quiet kind of fear. You might not say it out loud, but deep down, there are moments when you worry. What if I fall and no one's around? What if I forget something important? What if people think I'm too old to manage on my own? These thoughts are more common than you might think. But here's the truth. Living alone doesn't have to mean living in fear, and it certainly doesn't mean you have to give up your independence or your confidence. In fact, this chapter of life can be one of the most empowering. You've lived, you've learned, and now it's time to live life on your terms, with strength and clarity. And today, we're going to talk about how to do just that. We'll go through some smart, simple ways to stay independent, safe, and confident while living alone. No fancy equipment, no complicated plans, just real, practical habits that anyone can start. So let's begin with something that might surprise you, because it starts with your home. Your home isn't just where you sleep or eat. It's your base, your haven. And the truth is, many accidents that threaten a senior's independence happen right inside their own home, especially in places like the bathroom, kitchen, and stairs. That's why one of the smartest things you can do for yourself is to make your space safer and easier to navigate. Take a slow walk through your home today and ask yourself, does that rug slide too easily? Are there cords in the walkway? Could I trip getting out of the shower? Little things can make a big difference. Installing grab bars near the toilet and in the shower, using non-slip mats, and adding brighter lighting in dark corners are all simple ways to prevent falls. You don't have to turn your home into a hospital, but creating a space that works for you, not against you, is one of the most empowering things you can do. And while we're talking about your surroundings, let's talk about routines, because structure can be your best friend. Creating a consistent daily rhythm can reduce forgetfulness, boost your mood, and give you a greater sense of control. Waking up at the same time, eating meals regularly, and even having a short walk or stretch built into your day can do wonders for both your mind and body. Now, some people might say, but I like the freedom of doing whatever I want, whenever I want. And that's beautiful, but freedom doesn't mean chaos. A gentle routine isn't about restriction, it's about grounding. Think of it like a dance. You choose the music, you set the pace, but the steps are there to keep you balanced. And while we're on the topic of balance, let's move into something that often gets overlooked, but makes all the difference, keeping your body strong. I'm not talking about running marathons or lifting heavy weights. I mean staying active in a way that keeps your muscles working, your joints moving, and your confidence soaring. Have you ever noticed how something as small as struggling to get up from a low chair can shake your self-esteem? Or how walking up a flight of stairs suddenly feels like a challenge? That's not a sign that you're weak. It's just your body asking for a little more attention. You don't need a gym. You don't need fancy clothes. You just need movement, daily, gentle, intentional movement. Even simple chair exercises, balance drills, or light strength work using cans of soup or water bottles can help. And if you enjoy walking, aim for short, steady strolls around your neighborhood. Enough to stretch your legs and get the blood flowing, but not so much that you end up feeling drained or sore. Staying physically active helps not just your body, but also your mind. It boosts energy, sharpens thinking, and even improves your sleep. But here's where it gets interesting. Independence isn't just about being able to walk on your own or cook your meals. It's also about trusting yourself. Confidence. And that brings us to something that many people don't talk about enough: technology. Yes, I know. The word itself might make you roll your eyes. You might be thinking, I'm too old for that stuff. But let me ask you this. Would you feel safer knowing you could press one button to call for help if you needed it? Would you sleep easier if you could see who's at your door without getting up? Would you feel more connected if you could video call a friend or family member, even just for a few minutes a day? Learning a few basic tools, like how to use a smartphone for emergency calls, or how to install a smart doorbell, can give you a huge boost in both safety and confidence. It's not about being tech-savvy. It's about using the tools that can help you stay in charge of your life. And trust me, you're not too old to learn. You've already learned how to raise a family, survive losses, adapt to change. You can absolutely learn how to tap a screen. Once you begin to shift your perspective, seeing these tools not as a burden, but as a bridge to independence, you'll be amazed at how empowered you feel. Now that we've explored a few of these foundational ideas, making your home safer, creating structure, moving your body, and embracing helpful tools, let's take it a step further. Because as powerful as your physical space and routines are, there's something just as important, something invisible, but absolutely essential, and that's your mind. See, living alone isn't just about handling chores or staying upright. It's about keeping your spirit strong and your mind alert. Because once you lose faith in your own thinking, that's when doubt begins to creep in. One of the smartest ways to protect your independence is to keep your brain active, not just busy, but engaged. And I'm not talking about solving crossword puzzles until your eyes blur. Sure, those are fun, but what your mind really craves is novelty and challenge. It wants variety. Think about the last time you tried something completely new, something that made you think twice, something that frustrated you, maybe even made you laugh at yourself. That's the sweet spot. That moment of, wait, how does this work? That's exactly what keeps the brain alive. So, whether it's learning how to use a new app, picking up a simple craft like watercolor painting, trying a recipe you've never cooked before, or even just reading a book outside your usual taste, these little acts of mental exploration sharpen your mind like nothing else. And the bonus, every time you master something new, you build confidence. Quiet, powerful, lasting confidence. Now here's where things get even more interesting. As much as we talk about staying sharp and staying safe, none of it means much if you're feeling alone. And I don't mean just physically alone. I mean emotionally isolated. It can sneak up on you. You go a few days without a meaningful conversation. You start keeping the TV on just to hear another voice. And suddenly, that confident feeling begins to fade. Here's the truth. You don't need to be surrounded by people all the time. But you do need connection, real, human connection. And the beautiful part is, you don't need a room full of friends to feel supported. One or two meaningful relationships, someone you can talk to, laugh with, or even just check in on, is often all it takes to turn a quiet day into a comforting one. So, how do you build that when you live alone? Start small. Reach out to someone you haven't spoken to in a while. Call an old neighbor. Send a message to your grandchild. Join a small local group, maybe a walking club or a book circle. Even if it's just once a week, those small interactions keep your heart open and your mind emotionally strong. And if in-person isn't always easy, don't underestimate the power of technology here either. A simple video call can brighten your entire week. There are also senior-focused apps and websites designed specifically to help you meet people, share interests, or attend virtual classes. You're never too old to make a new friend, or to be one. But let me pause for a moment and ask you this. When was the last time you praised yourself for something you did well? Not something big, not something dramatic, just a small, quiet success. Maybe you fixed something around the house. Maybe you made yourself a good meal. Maybe you simply got up and made the bed. Living alone means you're often your own cheerleader, and that's not always easy. So here's something powerful you can do. Start celebrating yourself more. Keep a little notebook. At the end of the day, jot down one thing you did that made you feel proud, even just a little. Maybe it was resisting the urge to skip a walk. Maybe it was calling someone just to say hi. These moments matter. They're proof that you're still showing up for yourself. And that's the foundation of real independence. Now, let's not forget that part of being truly independent is being prepared. Not anxious, not fearful, just prepared. There's great power in knowing that if something unexpected happens, you have a plan. A lot of people avoid thinking about this, but honestly, being ready is one of the kindest things you can do for yourself. Take a little time to put together a simple emergency plan. Have a list of contacts by the phone. Maybe a neighbor, a family member, or a trusted friend. Make sure your medical information is easy to find. If you take medications, keep a week's extra supply, just in case. It's not about living in fear. It's about living with confidence. There are also wearable devices or mobile apps that can alert emergency services if you fall or need help. They're discreet, easy to use, and can be lifesavers. And let's be real, having one doesn't mean you're weak. It means you're wise. You're not planning for failure. You're planning for freedom. That's what real independence looks like. Strength backed by strategy. And here's something that may surprise you. One of the smartest ways to stay confident while living alone is to keep giving. Yes, giving. Not money, not gifts. But your time, your energy, your care. When you volunteer, when you help a neighbor, when you share your wisdom with someone younger, you're reminded that you still have value and that your life is still deeply meaningful. Because purpose isn't something you find. It's something you choose. And when you give even a little piece of yourself to others, your own life becomes bigger, fuller, and more connected. So far, we've explored what it really takes to live alone with strength. Not just staying safe in your home, but staying strong in your body, sharp in your mind, connected in your heart, and prepared for the unexpected. And yet, there's still more to uncover. Because the final piece of this puzzle isn't about the outside world at all. It's about how you see yourself. You see, as we get older, the world often starts treating us differently. Sometimes gently, sometimes dismissively. People might assume you can't do things anymore. They may talk to you like you're fragile, or worse, like you're invisible. But here's something I want you to remember, and believe with every fiber of your being. You are not a burden. You are not past your prime. And you are not finished. Living alone at 65, 70, 80, or even beyond isn't a sign of decline. It can be a declaration of strength. You've built a life. You've weathered storms. And now, you have the right to enjoy your independence on your terms. But to do that, you have to hold onto your self-respect like it's gold. That starts with how you speak to yourself. When you wake up in the morning, what's the first thing that goes through your head? Is it a complaint? A worry? A sigh? Or can it be something else? Something like, I get another chance today. I get to live, breathe, and decide who I want to be. That simple shift, treating each day as a gift instead of a chore, changes everything. It gives you the energy to move forward, even if your knees ache. It gives you the courage to call someone new, even if your voice shakes. And it gives you the power to make decisions that serve your peace, not your fear. Self-respect is also about saying no to things that drain you. That might mean stepping away from people who only call to complain. It might mean setting boundaries, even with family. You are allowed to protect your peace. You are allowed to rest when you're tired and speak up when something doesn't feel right. You don't owe anyone your time, your energy, or your silence. You've earned the right to live your truth, even if that means living it quietly, from a cozy chair in a peaceful home you've made your own. And finally, if there's one thing I'd love for you to take away from this conversation, it's this. Confidence isn't loud. It doesn't come from being the strongest or the smartest or the most social person in the room. It comes from knowing that no matter what life throws your way, you can handle it. Living alone after 65 is not about just getting by. It's about building a life that still feels full, rich, and yours. Yes, there will be days that feel heavy. Days when the silence in your home is louder than any noise. But there will also be days when you wake up and feel a quiet joy, because you've chosen to keep living on your own terms. So, if no one has told you this lately, let me say it now. I'm proud of you, truly, for being here, for listening, for caring about your own well-being enough to seek wisdom and encouragement. That takes strength. That takes heart. You're doing something powerful, reclaiming what it means to grow older, not as a burden to anyone, but as a person with freedom, with value, and with something meaningful still left to give. So now, let's quickly reflect, without making it feel like a checklist. You've learned how to make your living space safer and more comfortable. You've seen how small routines can ground you in confidence. You've explored how to keep your mind sharp and your heart connected. You've looked at the importance of preparation, emotional connection, and protecting your peace. And most importantly, you've remembered that independence isn't something we fight for. It's something we cultivate every single day, with our choices, our attitude, and our courage. If any part of this spoke to you, I'd love to hear about it. What resonated? What have you been doing already that's working for you? Or is there something you want to start trying, starting today? Share it in the comments below. I read every single one. Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs. If you found this video helpful or comforting in any way, please give it a like. It truly helps more people find this kind of uplifting content. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're building a space here, a community of people who believe that growing older doesn't mean growing weaker. It means growing wiser. And before I go, let me leave you with this thought. Independence isn't about doing everything alone. It's about knowing who you are, trusting your own strength, and giving yourself the life you truly deserve. One day at a time, one small choice at a time. You've got this. You really do. Here's to living strong, living smart, and living proud at every age.